Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So, we talked about understanding real estate and kind of what it is. So now we want to talk about well, how would you make money in real estate, right? Because whether you're curious about the investment potential of real estate or you're simply just sick and tired of the infomercials, showing you little known ways to profit from your property, right? It's worth learning, like for real, how real estate creates wealth, right? Rather than, providing obscure strategies for investing in real estate or giving you like a primer on home ownership for first time buyers. We want to focus on how to make money through real estate, right? We want to cover both the basic methods that haven't changed in forever, no matter what kind of gloss the gurus of the moment try to put on them, as well as specific opportunities that are kind of new. So the first thing I want to talk about is real estate profits from property value, right? Because the most common way real estate offers a profit is it appreciates, right? It increases in value, right? This is achieved in different ways and different forms for each different type of property, but it's only realized in one way: when you sell it, right? However, you can increase your return on investment on property in several ways. As an example, if you borrowed money to buy the property, right, you can refinance your loan at a lower interest, and that will lower your cost basis of the property, and that means you can take more money out of it, right? The most obvious source of appreciation for undeveloped land is, of course, developing it. As cities expand, land outside the limits become increasingly valuable, right? It'll get higher potential for it to be purchased by developers. And once developers build houses or commercial buildings, it's going to raise that value even further. Appreciation in land can also come from, discoveries of valuable minerals or other commodities, right? Provided the buyer holds the rights to them. Think striking oil, right? But appreciation can also come from gravel deposits or trees, natural resources like that. When looking at residential properties, location is often the biggest factor in appreciation. The neighborhoods around a home evolve. You add transit routes, schools, shopping centers, playgrounds, all these things. It's going to change, the value of the home. It's going to make it climb. But of course, the opposite's also true, right? A decaying neighborhood is going to make the home values go down. Home improvements can also spur appreciation. Putting in an extra bathroom, heating a garage, remodeling a kitchen with state of the art appliances, just some of the ways a property owner might try to increase the value of a home. Commercial property gains value for, the same reasons as raw land and residential, right? Location, development, improvements, right? And the best commercial properties, they're always in demand, right? Okay, let's talk about the role of inflation, though, because when you're considering appreciation, you need to factor in the impact of inflation. An annual inflation rate of 10% means that your dollar can only buy about 90% of the same goods, the following year. And, that's going to include, like, when you're buying property. So if a piece of land is worth $100,000 in 1970 and it sat dormant, undeveloped, doing nothing for decades, it would still be worth many times a day. Because of runaway inflation throughout the 70s and a steady pace since, it might be more than $700,000 to purchase that now, right? Assuming, $100,000 was fair market value for the land at the time. And with this, that's why inflation alone can lead to appreciation in real estate. But it is, I would say, a kind of a hollow victory, because while you might get 5 times your money due to inflation when you sell, many other goods cost 5 times as much to buy too, right? So purchasing power in your current environment is still going to be a factor. Okay, well, how about where do real estate profits, come from, right? Where are you going to get this income, right? Well, the second big way real estate generates wealth is providing regular payments of income, generally referred to as rent. Income from real estate can come in many forms. So the first one to talk about is going to be raw land income. Depending on your rights to the land, companies may pay you royalties for any discoveries on regular payments for any structures they add, right? These include pump jacks, pipelines, gravel pits, access roads, or even cell towers. Right? Raw land can also be rented for production, right? Agricultural production, and land tracts with trees may be valuable for the timber that they can, produce and be harvested. Then there's residential property income, right? The vast majority of residential property income is going to be rent, right? Your tenant pays a fixed amount per month, right, which goes up with inflation and demand, and you take out your costs from that rent, and the rest of it is rental income, right? A desirable location, right? It's going to be critically important to ensure that you can secure tenants easily. Well, then there's commercial property income, which is just like residential property income, right? Basic rent being the most common. And then, you can also add more in the form of option income, right? Many commercial tenants will pay fees for contractual options like the rights of, first refusal on the office next door. Tenants pay a premium to hold these options, whether they exercise them or not. Options, income sometimes exists for raw land and even residential property, but not very common. So then let's talk about residential real estate, right? Like how do we get these profits? What's the path to profits, right? Well, let's take a close look at many of the ways that you can earn income from residential properties, right? Well, of course, there's the buy and hold, right? It's one of the more traditional ways of earning income from real estate. There are a number of ways to accomplish this. You can buy a single family home and rent it out, buy a multifamily home and live in one of the units while renting the others, ideally to cover the mortgage and your own housing expenses, or purchase a multifamily home and rent out all the units, either managing the property yourself or hiring a property management company to handle renting units, collecting rent, addressing needed repairs, and so on and so on. The next strategy is going to be flipping. Property flippers specialize in adding, high return fixes to houses in a short time and then selling them. Flipping can be, lucrative if you know how to find properties to fix up. You have the necessary skills to do the renovations yourself or oversee a crew to carry them out. And you have a sense of, a property's underlying cost and potential value. So then the next one, which is kind of a new one, is going to be Airbnb and vacation rentals, right? The demand for, home away from home rentals, it's taken off here pretty recently, right? As many travelers prefer this option to staying in a hotel. Homeowners could earn income by renting out a house or even just a room on a short-term basis, especially if the property is in, area that's, say, a well-known tourist destination. It's unclear when that market, will return, right? But should it reappear, keep in mind that short-term rentals are regulated and sometimes even banned in certain cities. You need to check your city's bylaws before listing a property on, say, Airbnb, VRBO, or HomeAway, right? Also, figure in what additional deep cleaning and sanitizing between guests will add to the costs. Well, then let's talk about maybe some alternative real estate income sources, right? So, you've got, REITs, you've got mortgage-backed securities, you've got mortgage investment corporations, and then you've got real estate investment groups, right? They're all investment opportunity alternatives within the real estate sector. They're generally considered vehicles for deriving real estate income, but they have varying processes for doing so and varying processes for entry, right? So REITs, right? With a REIT, the owner of multiple commercial properties sells shares, often publicly traded, to investors, usually to fund the purchase of more properties, and then passes on the rental income in the form of a distribution. The REIT is the landlord for the tenants, who pay rent, but the owners of the REIT record income once the expenses of operating the buildings and the REIT are taken out. There's a special method to assessing a REIT, though. So let's talk about MBSs, MICs, right, or mortgage-backed securities, mortgage investment corporations, and real estate, investment groups, right? Because these are even a further step removed as they invest in private mortgages rather than the underlying properties, right? So mortgage investment corporations are different from mortgage-backed securities in that they hold entire mortgages and pass on the interest from payments to investors, rather than securitizing portions of principal and or interest. Still, both are not so much real estate investments as they are debt investments, right? And then you've got real estate investment groups are usually private investments with their own unique structuring, offering investors equity investments or partnership servicings, right? An important note here, though, is several credible, real estate alternatives are available for making money in the sector, but they come with different caveats and entry points, right? So just keep that in mind. So some other ways to invest in real estate. All right, let's talk about like an informal residential real estate option, right? Um, that's going to require that you pay a fee or a premium to have the right to buy a house for a specified period for an agreed upon price. You then find investors who will pay more than your option price for the property. In this case, the premium you get is essentially a finder's fee for matching a person looking for an investment with a person looking to sell. No different than a real estate agent's commission, honestly. Right? Although this is income, it doesn't come from owning. You're like holding the deed to like a piece of real estate. Some other options might include like short sales, right? This involves purchasing a home from a lender when the mortgage, or the mortgagee is behind on payments, right? Short sales can be a time consuming and complicated proposition, though. Then there's lease options. These are what the name implies. When you lease with an option to buy in a bull real estate market where prices are rising, you may be able to complete the purchase later at a lower preset price or make a profit by selling your purchase rights. Then you've got contract flipping. Instead of flipping houses, this type of flipping involves the transfer of the rights of a purchase contract to another buyer. If you can locate distressed sellers and motivated buyers and bring them together, you might be able to make a pretty good profit this way. Okay, well, with all this information, what's the bottom line? Well, there are several proven strategies for making money in real estate. Appreciation, inflation, and income are going to rank high on that list, but several alternative real estate investments also exist. Understanding your investment risks, what you want to invest in and stuff like that, and whether the overall process is worth it or not, I mean, it's really up to you. I would say most people, when they first get started, buying and holding is probably what most people are going to get into, right? Get just a steady real estate income. And if you feel like you can get a tenant in there yourself and do all that, that's fine. I would recommend getting a property management group to take care of screening tenants and all that stuff for you. They only take out 8%. It's really not that much, right? You think 8% of $1,000 rent, you're talking $80, right? $80 a month. Like, it's not that bad. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and hit that like button for me. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please think about subscribing to the channel. Until I see you guys in the next video, y'all be safe.